Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies and show you how they were made. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at the Rocky Horror Picture Show, released in 1975. This is a big one, folks. The Rocky Horror Picture Show is the ultimate midnight movie. It's the highest of camp, peak weirdo subculture, a wild and an untamed thing. The story is simple. A clean-cut couple washes up to a creepy castle owned by a sextacular mad scientist. But Rocky Horror isn't about the story. It's about loudly embracing the other and going all out. It means a lot to a lot of people, including me. I've been watching it for as long as I can remember. I got in trouble showing my 8-year-old friends because their parents wouldn't want them seeing this, which is fair. But I did see it, giving me a lifelong affinity for the weirdos. Because honestly, they never seemed like weirdos to kid me. The movie means even more to people who discovered it later in life, possibly while discovering something about themselves too. Back in the 70s, 3/4 of Americans thought being gay was wrong. And then here comes Frank waving his furter in your face. It allowed a lot of people to feel seen, and has continued to for the past 50 years.
This crowd is lining up for a film about transvestites.
If you've never seen this before, which is crazy to me, but it is also 50 years old, so I guess I get it, then I can only imagine your what the fuckery. It's a transgressive musical science fiction B-movie with minor mistakes aplenty, like booms and crew members in the shots. But it's incredibly creative despite its low budget, with a cast fully committed to the cause. And sorry not sorry, I'm yapping about this one in the intro, and throughout the whole episode. I think an understanding of where it came from will help you understand why it's so appreciated. On that note, huge shout out to Strange Journey, last year's amazing documentary made for the 50th anniversary. Rocky Horror was originally a stage show musical created by Richard O'Brien. He combined 50s rock and roll, B-movie sci-fi and horror, and glittery gender-bending theater. The play opened in 1973 in London and sparked a sensation that spread to LA, where it was loved, and Broadway, where it was not. It was adapted into a film that bombed, both critically and commercially, and might have been forgotten if it hadn't found its audience at midnight screenings, eventually cultivating a fan base that dressed up, cheered, booed, and joked along with the film.
It's different than any other movie I've ever seen.
Over the years, word of mouth turned it from a failed film to a genuine cult classic. It's in the National Film Registry, been referenced in everything from Phineas and Ferb to Sesame Street, had a chaste rendition on Glee, and was remade as a TV special directed by Kenny Ortega. Oh yeah, there's also the sequel Shock Treatment, but it's kind of a forgotten child. Rocky's interactive midnight screenings continue to this day, often with live shadowcasts acting alongside the film. Audiences yell scripted callouts and throw props around on cue. First-timers are initiated as virgins. This isn't just a movie, it's a cultural phenomenon, and a communal force that's brought people together to celebrate all things weird. For the past 50 years, it's older than SNL. There's just nothing quite like it.
It's a community of people who all come together, you know. They don't dream it anymore, they be it.
It's a schlocky sci-fi romp, a retro rock musical, a horny twist on Frankenstein, and an exploration of breaking free from societal constraints, all stuffed into a corset, fishnets, and heels. It's astounding. What Rocky horrors await?
Contestant number 24.
Oh shit, that's me. Hello, hi, my name is James A. Janice, and I want to be America's next top sponsor reader. Okay. Today's episode is sponsored by ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment.
Oh, great, another ZocDoc read. What is that, the 5th one today?
ZocDoc allows you to filter from over 150,000 providers across 200 plus specialties based on your own insurance, location, and needs, from primary care to dermatology to dentistry. Then you can book instantly by selecting from the real-time availability.
Like, come on, can we get some originality?
Hey, proper medical care is important, all right? And ZocDoc helps cut through all the common justifications for putting off important medical care, like being too busy to find one that's actually available, or not knowing which specialist to even go to. So I'm sorry I'm not promoting some innovative new product that I don't actually care about, but this stuff really matters, okay? It matters.
All right. Next!
Oh, man. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/deadmeat to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/deadmeat. ZocDoc! This message is sponsored by ZocDoc. What Rocky horrors await us in this picture show? Let's find out and get to the kills. The movie begins with a big old pair of lips. Hey, what'd that mouth do? Well, it sings the opening number, science fiction double feature. The Scarlet Mouth serenades us with lip service to a whole mess of sci-fi classics.
Claude Rains was the Invisible Man.
Yeah, he was. We counted that shit. These references frame what kind of movie this will be right off the bat. They're also really interesting from a modern viewpoint. Nostalgia is one of the biggest parts of pop culture today, as evidenced by, everything. But it's usually the 80s, and more recently the 90s and 2000s being referenced. It's especially rare to see nods towards anything predating the 1960s. So I find it really cool to watch a movie from 1975 referencing movies and entertainment of the 20s through the 50s. It's a different nostalgia than we're used to, and unique for its time too. This isn't longing for the mainstream sensations of those eras, but rather the underground genre offerings. Stuff for the weirdos. We head to a church where pastel-clad partygoers throw rice for the newlyweds Ralph and Betty Hapshat. Everybody's here. Their friends, their family, the American Gothic couple, the little gremlin with a camera. Congratulations! The bouquet is tossed and caught by Janet Weiss, wholesome girlfriend of the wholesome Brad Majors. Even though this movie takes place in the 70s, when it came out, Brad and Janet are a couple of squares with a 50s suburban sensibility. I mean, look at the boomer shit their friends drive off with. She got hers, now he'll get his, implying that men are the only ones who want sex. Women just put up with it to get married. That idea is gonna get challenged. I mean, you can already tell Janet's got some loin-centered yearning. Listen to her.
Hey, Janet.
Yes, Brad.
Plaid Brad launches into Damn It Janet, where he sings that he loves her, enough to draw on a church about it. Careful, man, don't piss off that place's scary staff. I mean, they already know your names.
Janet.
Brad proposes mid-song, and Janet accepts because she's mad for him too. They decide to do what any newly engaged couple should do, go visit their old science teacher. His class was where they first felt some chemistry. They share the world's driest kiss as the church turns over for a funeral behind them. I'm not counting that casket as a kill though. Ignore the Nosferatu kill count. It doesn't matter. As the song concludes, we wipe away to this guy. Boo! 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 Okay, alright, sorry, force of habit. This no-neck narrator is the criminologist, a gravely serious man.
I would like, if I may, to take you on a strange journey.
Guys, I said not now, alright? Just get out of here and to the numbers bit. So hard to find good help these days. He's frankly an unnecessary character, but honestly, one I've always had a fondness for. I mean, dude's a Blofeld. I can't hate him, even if it was in Diamonds Are Forever, that piece of shit. Who am I kidding? I love that campy-ass film. Most people tend to find his scenes boring and superfluous, and they're not wrong, which is why live crowds traditionally boo the shit out of him. Brad and Janet drive through a thunderstorm on their way to see Dr. Scott, their old science teacher. They pass the time listening to Nixon's resignation speech on the radio, which is an anachronistic inclusion. Nixon resigned in August of 1974, but the criminologist just told us this was a November night out. But maybe Brad had it on tape, who knows. The car blows a tire, so they decide to walk to a castle they saw a few miles back. It has a huge warning sign out front, but that sign won't stop them because they can't read, which is why they use their newspapers as umbrellas. They approach the castle's luminance while singing Over at the Frankenstein Place, which I think is an underrated song. I love the percussion that rolls into the chorus, where we get a sudden infusion of a literal chorus. It's also hilarious that every time the chorus sings, there's a dramatic push-in on the castle. Vocally, I like the harmony going on with Brad and Janet, but the real star of this piece is a somber handyman singing in falsetto.
Flow, Morpheus, flow, let the sun and light come streaming.
God, it kills me that I can't play more of these songs because of copyright. This Frankenstein-looking castle is played by Oakley Court, a Victorian Gothic mansion built in 1859. Oh, hi, Jess. Shout out to Grim Life Collective. The castle had been used for hammer horror, like The Brides of Dracula and The Plague of the Zombies, so it's a perfect location for a movie paying homage to films like that. The handyman greets them at the door. This pale hunchback is Riff Raff, and he's very observant.
You're wet.
Brad and Janet are observant too, and notice a bunch of motorcycles. Riff Raff would rather they not stare.
I think perhaps you better both come inside.
Riff Raff, who was always my favorite character as a kid, is played by Richard O'Brien, the man who created Rocky Horror in the first place. O'Brien had been a struggling British stage actor who was on the verge of quitting when he wrote the Rocky Horror Show. With the help of director Jim Sharman, who had cast him in a production of Jesus Christ Superstar, he developed the show and opened it on stage in the UK in the summer of 1973. It was only supposed to play for 3 weeks, but became such a huge success it wound up running for 7 years. Riff Raff explains that there's a party going on in honor of the house's master. A maid slides down the banister Bannister like a slutty little Mary Poppins, so Magenta can join Riff Raff as he kicks off the movie's most famous song, the motherfucking Time Warp! It's the official dance of the annual Transylvanian convention. These are the Transylvanians. If your childhood Halloween parties were lame as fuck and didn't play this song, well, no worries. The directions are plain as day.
It's just a jump to the left.
And then a step to the right. Hands on hip, knees in tight, pelvic thrust to really drive you insane. I mean, you should know these by now. They're basic dance moves. Just watch the Transylvanians. You'll get the hang of it. Riff Raff handles the first verse before Magenta takes things over for the second. I love how Patricia Quinn throws herself into ecstasy, moaning out her words. She was always so sexy in such a scary way. Riff Raff returns to hit everyone with his falsetto again.
Like you're under sedation.
And that shit gets Janet fainting for the second time since she stepped inside the house. O'Brien's falsetto was also used when he sang the opening song Science Fiction Double Feature, which he can still sing today, and the dude's in his 80s. The song was originally sung by Quinn in the stage production, and she wasn't thrilled that it was taken away from her. She still provided the iconic lips, though. The next verse is sung by Columbia, the groupie. She's a sparkly gal who comes out of nowhere to tap dance her way into our hearts. She's played by Little Nell, who, like O'Brien and Quinn, originated the role on the West End. Director Jim Sharman cast her after seeing her tap dance on a tabletop in a London bar. Too bad Columbia eats shit and falls in front of all the Transylvanians. Poor thing. Columbia gets done dirty, man. The Transylvanians dance until they drop. And while Janet is concerned, Brad writes it off as folk dancing. He was really supportive too. I love his polite little look at them and the way he snaps his fingers and nods his head along. It's so cute. Janet wants to leave, but she shouldn't be in such a damn hurry, because here comes Tim Curry. He's Dr. Frankenfurter, the host doing the most as he launches into the next song as means of introduction, Sweet Transvestite.
From transsexual Transylvania.
Dude's looking all sorts of Draculicious. Columbia's a big fan. She about to eat that leg like a corn on the cob. Nom, 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 nom. Riff Raff and Magenta go along with it, for now. Curry originated the role on stage in London, and audiences went fucking nuts for him.
Is it true everyone had the hots for Tim Curry?
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah.
Men,
Without question.
women, children, and dogs, darling. I'm telling you.
They loved his portrayal of an unrepressed hedonist, openly pursuing everything he wanted.
I see him and play him as a kind of grisly, real freak.
It was also a meaningful character for O'Brien to write. He lived a lot of his life suppressing his true self and feelings, but now identifies as transgender and non-binary, saying he feels roughly 70% male and 30% female. The British play's success caught the attention of American producer Lou Adler, who wanted to bring it to his Los Angeles theater, the Roxy, on the Sunset Strip. That version opened in March of 1974, with Curry as the only original cast member to retain his role. Everyone else was replaced by American actors. It was a big hit and ran for 9 months, with huge celebrities coming to see it, like Jack Nicholson, John Lennon, and Cher. Brad asks Frank if they can use his phone, but the corseted sex bomb just gets the audience all wet. He invites them instead to stay the night. And have a bite. Is there an echo in here? He even offers to show them what he's been working on.
I see you shiver with anticipation.
I mean, there aren't many words that begin with antissa, so I feel like you're probably just gonna say patient. Yeah, there it is. They'll just have to come up to the lab and see what's on the slab after they're dried off with bloody towels and, I don't know, lacy pantyhose? I love Brad still trying to introduce himself while he's being stripped. They take an elevator up as Riff Raff explains that he and Magenta are Frankenfurter's
servant.
Yeah, and they sure love that. Up in the lab, Frank is waiting for them while the Transylvanians watch from an elevated viewing area. I love the variety of folks he got here. There's Tall Dude, Monocle Guy, the Sheik, they're all great. Frank turns the charm on for Janet and talks to the audience through the fourth wall. Brad tries to go all alpha on him, since all they wanted to do was use their phone, but Frank just teases him in response.
Such a perfect specimen of manhood. So dominant.
Frank addresses his attendees, both invited and unexpected, saying he's finally unlocked the secret to creating life. Frank's creature is this body inside a tank, both of which are props originally used in the Hammer film The Revenge of Frankenstein. He orders Riff Raff to get his hunchback working on that wheel, getting real revved up. Hell yeah, that's the sound of science right there. Mad science, which I guess is just frantically twisting nozzles of food coloring. Frank fills the tank with a pride flag, and the mummy-looking figure stands up. And it ain't Imhotep, it's Rocky! The buff blonde bowl cut boy starts singing his first words with Sword of Damocles, which is definitely how I learned about that literary trope. He runs all over the lab, giving the second most dehydrated performance I've ever seen. After Hot Frosty, of course. That guy's blood vessels were bone dry! Frank chases after him and takes his frustrations, sexual and otherwise, out on Riff Raff. He doesn't like his pets running wild.
That's no way to behave on your first day out.
But a pouty face and bulging muscles convince Frank to forgive him. He submits his experiment for peer review. Jan says she's not a fan. She doesn't like men with too many muscles. Oh, Brad's delayed reaction to that. But Frank doesn't care what they think. After all,
I didn't make him for you.
Rocky gets a birthday set of candy cane weights, and Frank promises that in 1 week's time, he can make him a man. In song, of course, titled, well, I Can Make You a Man. Not to be confused with the song from Mulan. I mean, kinda hard to mistake him, honestly. Mulan never rode a horse like this. At least, not that we saw. Before Rocky can get a proper set in, a sexy sax man on a motorcycle busts through the wall like a Kool-Aid bat out of hell. It's Eddie, a former lover of Frank's and current lover of Columbia's. She's absolutely elated and squeals the entire time Eddie sings Hot Patootie Bless My Soul. Eddie is a classic rocker played by a real-life rocker, the late Meatloaf. But this wasn't stunt casting. Meatloaf hadn't even made any albums yet. He was just starting off. Still went by Meatloaf, though. That's a man who believed in himself. And with good cause.
A charming Texan chubster with the voice of an angel.
Meatloaf wasn't part of the original British production. He was cast in the American version in LA. That meant he only knew Tim Curry when it came time to make the movie, but he quickly won over the rest of the original cast.
And then he came out to me on the set and told me I was voted the best kisser in my high school in Texas. I said, really? I said, well, one would have to try that. So he proceeded. And I said, well, they were right.
His singing and saxing gets everyone in the partying mood, including Rocky, which begins to make Frank jealous. If he's not the center of attention, then he is not having a good time. In retribution, he picks up a pickaxe and stalks Eddie down, cornering him in the freezer. Columbia screams as he swings off screen, putting this experiment back in deep freeze. Frank's boy toy just learned about death the same day he was born, but he takes it well enough for Frank to launch into I Can Make You a Man reprise. And this version's got new backup vocals. Damn, girl, that was fast. What did it? I'm guessing the little hip swivels there. Oh, Brad's gotta be humiliated. He's still standing there holding the dead guy's sax. Eddie gave it to him earlier so he could go make out with and hump Columbia. Oh man, poor Columbia. The song ends with an electric guitar version of the wedding march, so you know it's time for these two to get consummating. Oh God, could someone please check on Columbia? While Frank and his Frankenhunk are in the honeymoon suite, Brad and Janet are separated and put in different rooms. It's okay, we saw that kiss earlier. They're probably used to sleeping apart. Brad sneaks into Janet's room to join her in bed, except it's not Brad at all. It's Frank in disguise! Janet demands to know what he did with Brad.
Nothing. Why? Do you think I should?
At first she tries to throw him out, but decides to sleep with him as long as it stays secret.
Promise you won't tell Brad?
While Frank's seducing Janet, Riff Raff torments Rocky with a candelabra. Or maybe he knows Frank's into wax play and he's trying to warm him up for it, I don't know. Either way, the terrified boy man breaks out of his chains, cause, you know, fire bad! He makes his getaway as a manic synth plays. Magenta is super into all of it, so she and Riff Raff indulge in necking and elbow sex. Yeah, nothing like a good cubital job. Over in Brad's room, he gets a visit from an upset Janet. Except it's not Janet at all, it's Frank in disguise! He runs the same playbook on Brad, down to the same quips.
What have you done with Janet? Nothing. Why? Do you think I should?
Once again, his allure is too impossible to deny. Well, that, and he's literally looming over them in bed, so Brad succumbs to the drag queen succubus. A guilt-stricken Janet sheds one nasty, viscous tear. Oh God, is that a tear? As she wonders where her fiancé is and regrets her Frank affair. Regrets this whole damn night, actually.
If only we were amongst friends or sane persons.
Her regret turns to anger when she sees Brad on a monitor having a post-coital smoke with Frank, even though she, you know, did the exact same thing. I don't know, maybe she's just really against smoking? I just figured they'd have a what happens in the castle thing going on. Brad and Janet are played by Barry Bostwick and Susan Sarandon. Bostwick got his start as a singer and an actor in musicals, including as Danny Zuko in the original Broadway production of Grease. I think he doesn't get enough credit for how hilarious he is in this movie. He's so perfectly corny. Of course, hard not to get overshadowed by Sarandon, who wasn't even supposed to audition for the film. She just tagged along with Bostwick to see her friend Tim Curry. She was cast anyway because, the doy, and still speaks highly of the part to this day.
Janet at that time felt to me like a satire of every ingenue I'd ever played.
You keep your hands to yourself? Can you talk to me?
You know, somebody who's kind of wide-eyed and sweet, but underneath is a bitch. And, you know, is just waiting to be liberated.
Unlike their fellow American Meatloaf, Sarandon and Bostwick had no ties to any stage production of Rocky Horror. They were total outsiders, which worked perfectly for their characters, an all-American couple unfamiliar with this counterculture world. Janet finds a scared and injured Rocky hiding in his birth tank, so she gives him some classic first aid foreplay, shortening her hem to dress his wound. A hand rubbing leads to a naughty nurse notion. Sure, she was trying to be trad for Brad, but since that ship sailed, why not let her castle freak flag fly? She embraces her newly awakened sexual appetites with Touch Me, which is a very hard song title to say. She admits that she had been a virgin before Frank, but now she wants to get down and dirty, much to the excitement of Magenta and Columbia, who watched from their CCTV. Oh my god, I don't know if any actress has ever been sexier than Susan Sarandon in this role. She gets her rocks off with Rocky as Magenta and Columbia get in on the groping too. The song ends with everyone singing Creature of the Night into Janet's face. Creature of the Night! Or screeching into her face if you're Columbia. Creature of the Night! But hey, at least that's Little Nell's actual voice. Rocky's is overdubbed by British-Australian singer Trevor White. In fact, the movie doesn't have any of Peter Hinwood's voice, the model who played Rocky. This was one of only 3 roles he did before opting for a quiet private life dealing antiques. Frank punishes Riff Raff for letting Rocky escape while Brad stands there in his silly little robe. They suddenly notice a person outside the castle on their monitor. Great Scott! It's Dr. Scott, Brad and Janet's former science teacher, the one they were on their way to see in the first place. He lives nearby, as evidenced by a map the criminologist showed us earlier, which also revealed that this movie technically takes place in Southeast Ohio. Bet you didn't expect that. Frank uses a superpowered magnet to beam Scotty up to the lab, or rather, pretty obviously, move him along a track and then play the footage back at a higher speed. It gives us a nice tour of the castle's various rooms, with their wonderful maximalist production design courtesy of Brian Thompson. Like most of the cast and crew, Thompson worked on the original stage production. For the film, he dressed the sets to match the script, a mixture of art both high and low. He figured Frank would collect whatever he found on Earth, hoarding it all for himself like the egotist he is. Frank accuses Brad of spying on him for Dr. Scott, but Scott says he's only there looking for his nephew, Eddie. Awkward. The group then stumbles upon Janet and Rocky. A little late, to be honest. They probably smell like sex in there. The discovery stuns everyone.
Janet!
Dr. Scott!
Janet!
Brad!
Rock!
After a few more rounds of the name game, and then the blame game, Magenta rings the dinner gong. Wait a minute, weren't they all going to bed earlier? What the fuck time is it? I guess they did warn us it was being warped. They all sit down for a very awkward meal. Frank hams it up with an electric carver as Riff Raff sloshes wine all over the table, and Rocky eats like he's never seen a fork before, which, to be fair, he hasn't. At one point, Brad pounds the table, and Bostwick accidentally pounds Sarandon's hand. You can see her pained reaction. But it's not like they could afford a bunch of takes. After the Los Angeles production was successful, producer Lou Adler helped put together the film adaptation. Financing came from 20th Century Fox, but the budget was only about $1 million. They could have gotten more money with bigger names and rock stars in the roles, but instead they took a smaller budget to maintain creative control.
We were a fringe theatre event, and we were allowed to make a movie.
That's why so much of the original play's cast and crew got to work on the film, from director Jim Sharman to the production designer and the costumer. The only casting requirement made by Fox was that they hire 2 American actors for Brad and Janet, which is how Bostwick and Sarandon got the parts. Filming was done over 6 weeks, a very short time period for a musical. And the castle they were shooting in didn't have heat, so conditions weren't the greatest. Sarandon caught pneumonia.
I was wet and miserable most of the time.
But they still had fun and recognized the opportunity they were given.
At the time, we were all still so astonished to be filming it at all, and I loved every minute of it.
Dinner talk turns to the subject of Eddie, causing Columbia to go off and scream. Dr. Scott tells the audience about his concerns.
I knew he was in with a bad crowd, but it was worse than I imagined. Aliens. Huh?
He ends up singing a whole damn song about his delinquent nephew called simply Eddie.
When Eddie said he didn't like his daddy to move, it was a no-good kid.
Afterwards, Frank reveals that Eddie's been here the entire time. Meatloaf was on the menu! Janet screams and falls into Rocky's arms, sending Frank into a jealous rage. He chases her up the stairs, insulting both her skill in the sack and her baking.
Your apple pie don't taste too nice.
The song, Planet Schmanet Janet, wasn't included on the original soundtrack due to the limited length of a vinyl record. Sword of Damocles was also omitted, that one partly due to the quality of the vocal recording, but both would be included on the anniversary release 25 Years of Absolute Pleasure, which was the version I owned on CD. They end up back in the lab. Frank uses a sonic transducer to freeze Janet, Brad, and Dr. Scott in place.
My wheels! My God, I can't move my wheels. It's as if we're glued to the spot!
Scott explains that the transducer is a device capable of transmitting solid matter through space and possibly time itself. In the meantime, though, Frank will use a Medusa switch to turn everybody into stone. Naked stone. Hey, wait, does that mean that headless statue back there used to be alive? Frank even gives up on Rocky, turning those rock-hard abs into literal rock. It's not easy for Frank trying to have a good time.
Even smiling makes my face ache.
In the newfound quiet, Magenta tells Frank how she really feels. Homesick for Transylvania and regular sick of Frank's verbal and physical abuse. Mere words aren't gonna make up for it.
I'm indeed grateful to both you and your brother Riff Raff.
Oh, I love the reveal that they're siblings after we've already seen them being weird little sex goblins with each other. It's an extra layer of bizarre. Maybe it was too bizarre for many. Despite its LA success, the Rocky Horror stage show was a flop when it moved to Broadway, closing after 40 days. Perhaps New Yorkers turned their noses up at a play that started on the West Coast. In any case, this was the same time the film premiered, and since Fox didn't distribute it nationally, it was a major box office bomb.
I mean, I hoped it was going to be a hit. And then it came out and very definitely wasn't.
It couldn't even recoup its tiny budget. The double failure on Broadway and at the box office hit O'Brien hard. Thankfully, Lou Adler came to the rescue again. A year after the film's release, he started playing it on the Midnight Circuit, beginning at the Waverly in New York. It finally found its audience, a bunch of weirdos who would interact with it and talk back to the screen.
Well, the truth of the matter is of course, we all are freaks, aren't we? There is no norm, there is no standard. God made us in different ways, thankfully.
It became the longest-running theatrical release in film history, proving that everything they went through was worth it.
For your first movie to run for 50 years is crazy.
Frank won't give his servants a straight answer about going home, probably because he can't do anything straight. He'd rather put together a floor show, with everyone dressed up in full makeup and outfits to match his own. He unmeduses them one by one, so they can each sing a few lines in the first section of the three-part song, Rose Tint My World. Columbia sings about her love for Eddie, and Rocky sings about his uncontrollable libido. Brad sings about how sexy he feels now, and damn does Barry Bostwick kill it.
I feel sexy.
Janet's really feeling herself too, and embracing her hoe era, but Frank doesn't let them have the spotlight for long, since he takes over for a solo on the second part of the song, Don't Dream It. It's all about embracing hedonism and giving in to one's desires, like how he desires to open a pool on the stage right now, why the fuck not? The repeated line, Don't Dream It, Be It, comes from a lingerie company's advertising slogan, and ended up becoming the whole ethos of the film. Frank's new chorus dives right into the deep end for a pool orgy. Oh, Columbia, put them things away! During the song, Dr. Scott wakes up and tries to fight Frank's influence, but he can't resist for long. He's gonna live life. The third and final part of the song is Wild and Untamed Thing, an upbeat kickline chorus that Dr. Scott rolls onto stage to join. I've always loved the hilarious thing he does with his legs here. The dancing and singing is cut short when Riff Raff and Magenta bust in dressed like sci-fi versions of the American Gothic couple. Because if you didn't realize it, that was O'Brien and Quinn cameoing at the church scene in the beginning. Curry was also there as the preacher, and Little Nell can be seen when they move inside the church. The sibling lovers declare a mutiny against their master. They're sick of his hedonism and abuse, and declare his science mission a failure. He will get no more chances to create life. If anyone missed it up to this point, the true nature of the Transylvanians is revealed. They're aliens. Frank, Riff Raff, and Magenta are literally from transsexual Transylvania. Not the Romanian region in Europe, but the planet transsexual in the galaxy of Transylvania. All the weirdos at their party were legit aliens too, except Eddie and Columbia. They were human beings who got wrapped up in all this. Oh, poor Columbia. Frank accepts his fate and tries to look on the bright side of things with the ballad I'm Going Home, which I think is probably the best song in the entire movie. Doesn't get much better than the emotion in Curry's voice here.
'Cause I've seen blue skies.
All all of the songs, which I love so dearly, owe a lot to musical director Richard Hartley. He joined the stage production to flesh out O'Brien's original songs, and when it came time for the film adaptation, added brass and string parts and increased the orchestra size from 4 to 30. Too bad the music does nothing for Riff Raff. He clarifies his statement. He and Magenta are returning home, but Frank ain't coming with them. He's going to be put to death right after Columbia, since Riff Raff shoots her with his laser gun first. Oh, come on, man! Hasn't she suffered enough? Frank tries to flee, climbing the curtain to get away, but Riff Raff lasers him and he falls to the ground dead. Wow, another one-shot kill? Shit's OP, dude. Rocky is heartbroken at the death of his creator. He drapes him over his shoulder and climbs the fake radio tower in an obvious homage to King Kong. Angry shaky fist and everything. Riff Raff shoots him a few times and the lasers bounce off his muscles for a while, but eventually a kill shot sends the whole tower falling down, and Rocky lands dead in the water. Magenta asks Riff Raff why he killed them. They liked him after all.
They didn't like me! They never liked me!
Oh damn, that damage go deep, huh? He considers killing the humans too, but Dr. Scott does some diplomacy, so R² tells them to leave while they still can. He and Magenta are going to beam the entire building back to transsexual, an occasion that calls for flashbacks and more elbow sex. You know what? Good for them, I guess. The building blasts off, leaving Brad, Janet, and Dr. Scott lying in the dust. The probably not still fiancés sing the final original song, Superheroes, and the criminologist comes in at the end to cap things off with a spoken poem.
Crawling on the planet's face, some insects called the human race.
The movie ends with his globe glowing in the darkness as the credits roll to a reprise of science fiction double feature. How many victims will never do the time warp again? Let's find out and get to the numbers. It's the Riff Raff Hour. It's astounding, and it bears repeating. Kill counting is our goal, so keep watching.
Not for very much longer.
There's no time for another ad roll. 'Cause I've got to get to the numbers! Counting women and men. The pies need a talking, and the white void is calling. Get to the numbers again. Get to the numbers again.
It's just a walk to the left.
I mean, that's pretty much it, so. There's not really more steps to it. 4 people died in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. The victims consisted of 3 men and 1 woman, giving us this science fiction double-sided chart. We've seen this count and breakdown 9 times before on the show, including just recently in Milk and Cereal. That's from the Obsession guys. With a runtime of 100 minutes, Rocky Horror had a kill on average every 25 minutes even. I'll give the Golden Chainsaw for coolest kill to Eddie. It's actually kind of scary the way it abruptly cuts his song short, combined with Columbia's shrieks of agony and Frank looking like a madman. Dog Machete for lamest kill will go to Columbia. She didn't deserve it. She didn't deserve any of this. She just wanted to wear her Mickey Mouse ears and dry hump meatloaf. And that's it. The Rocky Horror Picture Show came out in 1975 and still plays in theaters today. Until next time, I'm James A. Janice. This has been the Kill Count. Thanks a lot for watching this kill count for the Rocky Horror Picture Show. This is one of the most anticipated episodes ever. I don't know if it is for you, but it is for me, absolutely. Like I said, this movie means a lot to me and is just a big part of my personality and who I am. And apologies, I am sure this episode is hella delayed because not only was it really difficult to wrangle the script and get in all the information that I wanted to, but of course, we're dealing with the copyright. And I'm hoping that whatever version you're watching still includes clips of the songs because, I mean, we're talking about the songs, we're reviewing them, we're commentating on them, and I just feel like it's crucial for a discussion of this movie. If worst case scenario, they're gone and it's just a silent kill count without the sound ups of the songs, that it sucks, but the real version's probably on Patreon. I don't know, man. And who knows what kind of age restrictions we're running into with all the sexual content. But regardless of how much of a pain it might be to make this episode and get it out to you, it's very important to me that I do. Huge thanks to all the staff who showed up. You saw writer Addison Peacock, community manager Michael Gerhalva, and our most recent hire, our Socials editor Whit Sutherland. And our other writer Tim Choi was the one directing and operating the camera. And of course there was Chelsea, who stepped out of her break to be Magenta. Very happy she did. Seriously though, I hope this episode was worth it for any fans of the movie, and for anyone who's maybe not familiar with it, I hope that we turned you on to liking Rocky Horror. Thanks everyone. Don't dream good people, be good people.